So beginning this morning seated, using any props that you have to hand. So I've got a couple of yoga blocks I'm sitting on. It could be a couple of big, thick, old-fashioned encyclopedias. It could be some some cushions or pillows, some folded towels, and coming to a comfortable seated position. If it feels too uncomfortable, we're sitting on the floor. Always welcome to sit on a chair. And beginning to find length through the spine. So we want that sense of grounding through the sitting bones, but also a lift from the base of the spine towards the crown of the head. Maybe taking a couple of shoulder rolls. And finding your comfortable seat. You may want to close the eyes or just soften the gaze. Encouraging the shoulders to soften. And breathing in and out through the nose if that's possible this morning. Beginning to tune into your breath. So following the inhalation and the exhalation, maybe noticing the cooler air as you inhale and the warmer air as you exhale. Taking some time just to allow the breath to settle, for us to settle into our seated position. Maybe noticing where the breath is moving to in the body. Maybe you can feel the rib cage expanding. And on the inhalation, you may notice a little movement around the collarbones or the shoulders. And beginning to encourage the belly to rise as we inhale and fall as we exhale. It can help to bring the hands towards the belly. Sense of touch to guide the breath. Breathing in, expanding the belly. It's almost like we're ballooning the belly. And breathing out to draw the navel towards the spine. So there's a conscious action here. As we breathe in, we're encouraging the belly to rise. And as we breathe out, the navel's gently moving back towards the spine. So there's a gentle pulling. Nothing too strong, but conscious breathing, conscious effort. Maintaining length through the spine and softness in the shoulders. And taking a moment to acknowledge with our hands on our belly what our bellies do for us and how they support us. It's an area of our body that sometimes we dislike, sometimes have a negative relationship with. And if that is how you feel about this area of your body, taking a moment to acknowledge how it supports you. You may begin to notice as you inhale and exhale, we're beginning to massage the internal organs, so the digestive system in this area, supporting us, supporting our body, receiving the nutrients, the goodness from what we eat. And as the belly expands, as we inhale, draws back as we exhale, it's supporting us breathing. So a full, complete breath. Our bellies, our abdomens. Supporting our inhalation and exhalation. And through this full, complete breath, we know we can support the digestive system, the immune system, the endocrine system. So just breathing like this is supporting our hormones, balancing our hormones. The cardiovascular system. We're actually massaging our heart very gently as we inhale and exhale. So just taking this moment to send a little bit of love towards our bellies. And taking 3 more breaths here. Expanding the belly on the inhalation and gently drawing it back towards the spine on the exhalation. And you've taken those final 3 breaths. Gently tucking the chin towards the chest, maybe releasing the hands from the belly, resting them in the lap or on the knees. And just taking a moment here, beginning to wake up the neck, the shoulders a little. So we've got a lot of muscles in the throat, the neck, that support our breathing. They're secondary respiratory muscles, so really important to look after these areas to support our breath. Slowly bringing the head back up to center. And then we'll take the gaze towards the sky without throwing the head back. So it's just a very gentle, almost can't feel it, but a stretch in the front of the throat, maybe the chin. And bringing the head back to center. You may want to change the cross of the legs. If you are in a cross-legged position, just bring some balance to the body. And then we'll work through the head and the neck a little further. So taking the right ear towards the right shoulder and just taking a moment here to work out what's happening. Sometimes our neck is tighter or stiffer on one side depending on how we've slept or whether this is a dominant side, right-handed, left-handed. So taking a moment there to allow the muscles to settle and work out what's going on. And this might be enough for you today. Welcome to bring the right hand towards the head, almost over towards the ear, and gently encourage a slightly stronger stretch. If you get there and feel that's too much, always just knowing you can pull back. Breathing in, slowly coming back to center, releasing the hand, and we'll move to the left hand side. So again, beginning with the left ear, moving towards the left shoulder to allow the body to settle into the position. And then knowing that if you want a little more, you can bring the left hand up and over top. Just gently encourage the head to stretch a little further. So we're creating space in the head, the neck, the shoulders to begin with today. Really to support our breathing. So we know stress is a huge cause of many perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms. So through the breath, we're able to really calm the nervous system down. And by doing that, we're able to reduce actually a lot of symptoms. They may not totally go away, but they'll definitely reduce. Slowly bringing the head back to center. Taking a roll of the shoulders, feel free to exaggerate the shoulder. I like to bring them all the way up to the ears and all the way back. And then maybe taking some in the opposite direction. And we're very slowly going to come back to stillness and move over towards the right hand side. So we're going to create a bit more space in the side of the body, lateral stretch. So the right hand's coming down towards the floor, fingertips, hand, whatever feels best for you. And we're leaning over. Try not to have too much weight in the hand or the wrist at the moment, keeping the glutes and sitting bones very much glued to the earth or to the props you're sitting on. Bit of a side stretch. You're getting in maybe into the hips, but what we're looking here for is a little bit of a stretch around the rib cage. And you may want to take the left hand up and over. Notice how that changes anything. If the shoulder's sore, just bring the hand down. So we have muscles in between the rib cage, or in between the ribs, I should say, intercostal muscles, but they also help and aid our breath. So again, just creating a bit more space for them so they can do their job. As we inhale, we'll come back to center. And then taking a time to move over to the left-hand side. So starting with the side stretch or the side bend, just to work out how the hip's feeling, the side of the body's feeling. And then maybe reaching up and over with the right hand. And you're likely to notice quite a difference between the two sides, depending on your sort of habitual or dominant side. And slowly on the next inhalation, coming back to center. We'll come into a twist. So we're working through digestive systems today and sort of sluggish, lethargy, low mood, which I get quite a lot through perimenopause. And so twists are going to work with peristalsis. They're going to aid digestion, really heat up. We call it Agni in yoga, the fire in the belly to really support a sluggish digestive system. So without the hands to begin with, we're going to twist towards the right hand side. So we're taking a gaze towards the right hand side and gently bringing the shoulders through the motion as well, still keeping the length in the spine to the crown of the head. So working with the movement without sort of forcing it, without encouraging it to go any further than the body is able to. Coming through center and taking that twist on the opposite side. So we turn towards the left. Maybe you notice a slight difference between the two sides. Often we can go a little further on one than the other. But noticing all these differences between both halves of the body, really important, because as we consciously become aware of them through practicing yoga and the shapes we're making with our body, unconsciously during the day, the body starts to make adaptations to bring balance and evenness. Slowly coming back to center, and then we will twist using the hands, using the support of the hands. So we're going to bring the left hand to the right knee and taking the right hand behind you, and if you can, I call it spider fingers, fingertips or any props you're sitting on to support you on the floor or on the prop, and able to lift through that, supporting that lift. The gaze can go a little further if your neck's happy to take the gaze behind you. So a sense of twisting from the crown of the head all the way to the base of the spine. Slowly coming back to center, and we'll move to our left hand side. So the right hand's coming to the left knee, taking the twist on the other side, just ensuring the left hand can support you sitting upright. Keeping the shoulders soft. And slowly coming back to center. We're going to come onto all fours into a box position. So removing any props you're sitting on. Move these out of the way. And before we come onto all fours, you may just want to take a couple of wrist rolls. So wrists can get quite tight. And we'll just take a couple of minutes to massage the hands. So I'm going to take a thumb and really apply some pressure all the way to each fingertip, like a bit of self-massage. All the way to the thumb when you get there. And maybe taking a moment to make some circles across the palm and giving the hand a good squeeze. And you may want to just notice the difference already between the hand. One may just feel that little bit lighter, little bit freer. We'll balance that up by working through the other hand. So just applying some pressure, giving each fingertip maybe even a little tug. A couple of circles through the palms and a good squeeze. Couple of more circles, and we'll slowly make our way into a motorbike pose. That's what I call it. I love this. So we're taking our hands into soft fists, make sure they're not gripping, just gentle fists, and you're literally imagining you're on a motorbike, and taking the knuckles forwards. So coming into wrist stretches, and you may want to take the knuckles up towards the sky as well. Softness in the elbows, softness in the shoulders. Just waking up the wrists before we come onto hands and releasing. So we'll come into our box position, hands are under shoulders. If the wrists feel a little bit tight today, it doesn't feel right, again, coming into soft fists, that can take a little bit of pressure out the wrists, or you may want to come down to elbows. That's also an option as well. So a couple of options if the wrists get tired or feel a little bit too tight. To begin with, spreading the fingers, making sure we've got our stable base through the hands, and really thinking about the weight distribution of the hands. So I often say this, we've got our hands spread, but we want to make sure the weight is even through the thumb and the little finger. So can you make that happen? So an internal rotation of the wrist, so just making sure the weight's even there. Inner elbows pointing in towards each other, shoulders moving away from the ears. We're going to come into cat and then cow. So coming into cow, we're looking forwards, dropping the belly, quite literally imagining or visualizing the cows, the sacred cows of India, as they wander the streets. And then we're tucking the tailbone, Spine moving up towards the sky. The gaze can go towards the knees, or maybe the chin tucks in towards the chest, and coming into cat. It's the shape of a sort of angry or scared cat. So coming through this flowing motion, and you're welcome to bring in and incorporate the breath. So we breathe in to look forwards as the belly drops and we come into cow. And breathing out as we arch the spine and take our gaze towards the knees as we come into cat. Taking 3 more rounds, and if the breath isn't working for you through the movement, just making sure you're breathing. It's the main thing, keeping the breath flowing. And we're creating flexibility here in the spine through the vertebrae. So we know as we encourage motion and flexibility into the spine, we're also supporting the breath. Making your way back to stillness. We'll take a moment just to release the wrists. Couple of wrist rolls in both directions and really spreading the fingers as well. Always creating space in the hands. We do so much with the hands, but we don't always take a little bit of time to look after them. And then back into our box position. So setting up the hands again, spreading the fingers. Taking a moment to feel the weight through the fingers, and the thumb is even. Softening the shoulders away from the ears. And as we breathe in, we're going to take the right knee behind us. It can be just a very small movement. It can make it a little bit larger. Just listen to your body, work out what's happening, how it feels. And then as we breathe out, we're tucking the knee in towards the chest, and maybe the chin meets the knee. We're just taking that another 5 times. Breathing in to take the knee behind you. You can decide how far you go. And breathing out to bring the knee in towards the chest. Working with your breath, your rhythm. So we all have different breathing rates, so we're moving at slightly different timings. Maybe you've taken the knee a little bit higher in the last couple of rounds. So beginning to wake up the lower back and the hips. And placing the right knee down when you've taken those 6 rounds in total on that side. Releasing the hands if you feel your body's asking for that. And then we'll move on to the left-hand side. So taking a moment to set the hands up, encouraging the shoulders to remain soft. As we breathe in, taking the left knee behind us as far as you feel you want to on this side. And then as we breathe out, we're tucking the knee towards the chest, and the chin can come to join it. So we know that each side may feel different depending on our habitual side, particularly with the legs and the hips. So working with this side, it may feel a little different, maybe a different range of movement, but that's okay. We're taking 6 on this side. So if you are following me, another 2. If you're working with your own breath, just taking your time. And releasing the knee down. And again, taking a moment to relieve the wrists. If your wrists have had enough at this point, know that you can come down to elbows. We are coming back onto the hands if the wrists are still happy to do so. And we can take the right foot out behind us here. So we're looking just to create a bit of space in the calf muscle. So the toes are still on the floor and reaching away with the heel. Softness in the elbows, shoulders moving away from the ears, just finding a bit of space in the back of the leg. Releasing the right knee and coming onto the left hand side. Again, noticing the difference between the two sides. Always bring your awareness back to that and back to our breath. And gently releasing on the left hand side. We're going to come slowly into melting heart. A few different options here, and I'm just going to demonstrate. So on the knees again, the hands are extended. It's almost like the heart is coming towards the floor. Depending on shoulders, my shoulders are feeling a little bit tight today. We can have height under the head. So there's an option here to have as much height as you can create for the head, the forehead. We are going to be here for a couple of minutes. It's a yin shape. You may actually just want some height for the hands, and that might make it feel a little bit more supportive. You can also bring height to the chest. So it's a sort of personal, again, a personal preference. You can create some softness with pillows, cushions, folded towels, a bolster if you have one. So finding a position that works for you. I'm going to go for the blocks under the head this morning, making sure you've got any padding you need for your knees. So you may want to fold the mat in half or bring a blanket. And a sense of the heart melting towards the earth. Finding a position, taking a moment to make any adjustments. And melting heart. We're creating some space in the chest around the rib cage. And the breath has the freedom now to move into the lungs, and you may notice the rib cage expanding in all directions. So with yoga to support perimenopause and menopause symptoms, we work through Hatha yoga, yin yoga, and sometimes restorative yoga as well. Restorative, a little bit more restful, supported. And this is a yin shape. So what we're doing here is holding it for a little longer, just allowing the body to find a bit more space. So it's not as restful as restorative. The body's still working. But we're giving the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments time to lengthen and soften. Taking 3 more breaths here. And when you're ready to come out, coming up very slowly, taking your time to slide hands back, move props, depending on the shape you came into. Very slowly, very mindfully coming out of it. And you may want to take a couple of shoulder rolls, making any movement that you feel the body's asking for at this point before we come up to standing. It's one of my big lights going off. The sun is slowly coming up, it's lighter. So we're going to begin with a very simple sun salutation or flow. And we're going to start building some heat in the body. So I mentioned Agni, fire, earlier. In Ayurveda, which is the kind of medicine side of yoga, we talk about fire in the belly. So what we're trying to do is create a little bit of heat, and that heat will burn off any kind of low mood, lethargy, aid our digestion as well. So a kind of combination of that. So we'll come into a warming practice, feeling the possibility at any point that you are able to rest. So knowing that you can come down to the mat, take a break. There'll be options as we go through. But actually what we're trying to do is create some heat. A bit more cardio activity. So coming to one end at the mat, and you may want your feet together, you may want your hip distance, your feet hip distance apart, taking a moment to find the position that works for you. Toes facing forwards, feet are parallel, softness in the shoulders, fingertips reaching down towards the earth, and we'll take a moment to lift the toes and spread the toes. And spread the toes, place them back down towards the mat. We're inhaling to reach up, maybe the gaze follows if the neck is happy, and then exhaling to fold forwards, leading with the heart. Bend the knees as much as you need to here. It's not about how far we go, it's just making sure we're starting to create some space in the back of the legs. Gaze is behind you, soften the shoulders away from the ears. As we breathe in, we're coming into a flat back position. Hands come to knees or just below the knees on the shins, shoulders away from ears. We're looking towards the floor. So quite a high flat back to ensure we can really take a deep breath in and expand the rib cage in all directions. On the next exhalation, we're folding forwards. From here, we're going to step back with our right foot and drop down to our right knee. Left knee directly above left ankle, really safe place for that to be. If you know you want a little bit more stretch in the right hip, tucking the toes, taking the right knee a little further back. Coming up to our lunge position, Anjaneyasana. You may want to stay here. There's an option to raise the arms, soften the shoulders away from the ears. Maybe you're able to sink a little deeper. If your neck's happy, you can take the gaze up towards the sky. It's going to increase the back bend, so just being mindful of that. And we're taking 4 breaths here. On the next exhalation, folding forward, taking your time to find your way into plank. So swinging the left foot behind you. Plank can be on knees or toes. Just making sure the setup through the hands is safe. So hands are under shoulders, about shoulder width apart. Thinking about the weight distribution again through the hands. So making sure it feels even. Shoulders are moving away from ears. It's a line from the crown of your head. If you're on your toes to your heels, if you're on the knees, it's towards the base of the spine. Belly button towards the spine, protecting the lower back. And then we're dropping down to knees, chest and chin. Hands are under shoulders, elbows tuck in, breathing in to come into a cobra. And you can decide if it's a small cobra or a larger cobra, deciding what works for you at this point in your practice. Always listening to your own body. And we'll slowly fold forwards. We're coming into a first downward facing dog. So hands are about mid-chest, fingers spread, tucking the toes, and coming into downward dog. Always another option to come into child's pose or extended child's pose. With the hands spread, we want the weight to be even, so have a check of that, thumb to little finger. Inner elbows pointing in towards each other, shoulders away from ears. Pushing away through the hands and bringing movement to the legs for this first downward dog. So really pedaling the feet. Down dog's very much about finding space in the back of the body, length in the spine. So as we push away, belly's moving towards the thighs.
And we've got length and space in the back of the body. Tucking the chin, making sure there's no undue stress on the neck and the head. And then from here, dropping down to the knees, we're going to step the right foot forwards back into our lunge. Left foot coming to meet it or parallel, depending whether you have feet together or hip distance apart, into our forward fold. And we're going to take a moment here and come into a twist. So we really want to make sure the knees are as bent as they fit as we feel we need them. So there's space being created in the back of the legs, but it's not painful. The breath not changed. We're able to breathe. Right hand is coming to the shin of the left leg and then reaching up with the left hand, turning towards the right hand, towards the left hand side. You may want to drop the left hand behind the back if that feels a bit too strong. So a couple of options there. Slowly coming through center, we'll move to the other side. Left hand coming to the shin of the right knee. Right hand coming up or maybe behind you, depending on how the shoulder's feeling today. Slowly coming back to center. We're going to bend into the knees a little bit more. Power through the feet, reaching up towards the sky. And bringing the hands back down to the sides of the body. We'll work through that on the other side. Forward folds can bring on hot flushes. So you'll know now whether that's the case or whether it's starting to happen. If that is the case, as we come into forward folds, make sure the head isn't going lower than the heart. So maybe you just come to about here. So just a contraindication there. Sometimes we don't know until we've come into it. So it's worth just bearing that in mind. Setting the feet up, taking time to lift the toes, spread the toes, find the balance, fingertips reaching down towards the earth. As we breathe in, we're reaching up. As we breathe out, folding forwards, leading with the heart so we fold from the hips and bending the knees as much as you need to, tucking the chin. Breathing in, hands to shins, quite high, flat back, so we can breathe in to the lungs, expand the rib cage in all directions. And breathing out to fold forwards. This time the left foot steps back, left knee drops down, lunge on the other side. Right knee directly above the right ankle, really safe place for that right knee. If you know you want a little bit more of a stretch in the left hip, you can tuck the left toes, take them back a little, coming up to hands on hips. And this might be enough for you today. So staying here, softening the shoulders. Maybe you raise the hands. The gaze can follow if the neck, the back's happy. So if you get into a shape and think, well, it's a bit too much, the breath is a bit too laboured, knowing there's always the option to bring it back a level. In yoga, we're always listening to our body, following the breath, supporting it where it is in that moment on our mats. On the next exhalation, folding forwards, taking your time to find your plank. This could be on knees and all toes again. Just making sure the hands, the fingers are spread. So we've warmed up the hands this morning, making sure the weight distribution is even. Through the thumb to the little finger, inner elbows pointing in towards each other, shoulders away from ears. If wrists are sore, knowing you can come down to elbows, forearm plank. Exhaling, dropping down to knees, chest and chin, and into cobra. Breathing in to come up. It can be baby cobra, stronger cobra. Elbows tucking into the rib cage. Exhaling to fold forwards, and we're coming back into a downward dog. So always an option to come into child's pose or a resting position here. If you're coming into downward dog, you may want to bring some movement again to the feet. You may be ready for stillness, just listening again to your body, spreading the hands, making sure the fingers are spread. There's space for the head and the neck, so the shoulders and shoulder blades are drawing down the back, tucking the chin a little, bringing some space to the back of the neck, And as we push away with the hands, belly's moving towards the thighs. From here, dropping down to the knees, and we're stepping the left foot forward, sorry. Other side. Taking a moment here, and we'll bring the right foot to meet or become parallel with the left. We'll take a moment in our forward fold. And wherever you are, we're going to bring the left hand this time to the left leg. Maybe it's shin or a bit higher up. And then we're returning towards the right hand side. The right hand is raised. If the shoulder's feeling tight, we can place the right hand on the lower back. So one of the many joyful symptoms of perimenopause can be stiff, sore joints, particularly shoulders as well. So listening to the body, if that's you, slowly releasing through center and coming to the other side. So right hand's coming to the left shin, left leg, reaching up, turning towards the left hand side. Twists, again, massaging the liver, the kidneys, the adrenal glands, where we really want to look after our adrenal glands, but also the digestive system. So creating warmth in this whole area. Coming back to center. As we inhale, we're going to bend into the knees as much as we can, power through the feet, reaching up towards the sky, and then bringing the hands back down to the sides of the body. Just take a moment to release anything you'd like to, shoulder rolls or movement of the hips. We're going to come into another flow. Again, another slightly stronger flow. Take it easy. There's always the option to come down to knees or child's pose at any point. So setting up your feet, either together or hip distance apart. You'll know what feels more comfortable for you. Softness in the knees. So we're trying not to lock the knees. There's always a sort of micro bend in knee softness here. Shoulders are soft, fingertips reaching down towards the floor. Breathing in, reaching up. Breathing out, folding forwards, leading with the heart. On the next inhalation, we're coming into a flat back, making it higher than usual maybe. So we can take a full breath into the rib cage. Breathing out to fold forwards. Bend into the knees as much as you feel you can. And then we're stepping the right foot back, but we're going to be coming up into warrior one. So as you place the right foot down, you want the toes to be pointing to about 2 o'clock. And then very slowly, mindfully coming up to a standing position. Before we raise the arms, we're going to check the left knee is above the left ankle. We're in toes in a good position. If the feet are more hip distance apart, you've got a little bit more space to bring the right hip forwards and encourage the left hip back. Again, always an option to leave the hands down by the sides of the body, or maybe you breathe in and reach up. It can be a short or a long warrior in the stance, just deciding what feels best for you. Feeling the strength of your warrior. So the weight distribution through the feet is even. Encouraging a softness around the jaw. Maybe the tongue can rest in the lower part of the mouth. On the next exhalation, releasing the hands down. We're going to come into side angle. I'm actually going to just take my foot back a little bit more. Side angle, coming towards the right hand side. And we're quite literally coming into a side angle. As we fold forwards, forearm coming to the bent leg, or the arm coming to the bent leg, there's no weight in that arm. And before we raise the arm or take the arm anywhere else, we want to create space in the chest. So chest openers are great for if we're feeling a bit tired, low mood, lethargy. Really good to find space here in the chest. Right leg is straight. And we want to make sure the quads are turned on as well. So this might be where you stay. If you know you want a little bit more, you're welcome to take the arm up and over. Just ensuring there isn't too much weight here hanging. You're not hanging out. There's a real lift through the chest. If you're used to practicing with a hand on the floor, please do, or a block. Just making sure this area isn't compromised. Lots of space here. at the chest. One more breath here. And slowly coming up to standing, the right hand comes to rest on the right leg, left arm coming up and over, reverse side angle. So we're looking up towards the palm of the left hand, if that feels okay for the neck. Reaching down the leg, looking for a side stretch on the left hand side of the body. Slowly exhaling to come back to center. We'll spiral the right hand round and forwards. Take your time, we're coming straight into a plank pose. So finding your way into plank, knees or toes, spreading the hands. Is the weight even through the hands, inner elbows pointing in towards each other, shoulders away from ears. Gazes towards the floor, so the head, the neck are in line with the spine, feeling the strength of your plank. Slowly coming down, knees, chest, chin, and we're going to come into Sphinx. So elbows are coming under shoulders. Forearms are parallel. If the lower back, if this is too tight for the lower back or too strong, taking the elbows a little further forward, it's going to soften the back bend. Wherever you are, the chest is lifting, shoulders moving away from the ears. We're going to come into a twist through Sphinx. So we gently straighten the right arm, applying pressure through the right hand, and turn to look towards the right hand side. You may even want to take the gaze behind you. Slowly coming back to center, applying pressure through the left hand to straighten the left arm, taking the gaze towards the left hand side or maybe over the left shoulder. Encouraging the hips, the pelvis to stay grounded if you can. And slowly coming back to center. Coming down towards the mat, hand shift back, downward facing dog or child's pose. So again, making it your down dog. What's your body asking for? Is it looking for a bit more movement in the legs or does it need stillness? Always having a micro bend in the knees, pushing away with the hands so the belly moves towards the thighs. Lengthen the back of the body. Check the chin is tucked just a bit. So there's not an overextension of the neck. Sitting bones and reaching up towards the sky. From here, option is to drop to the knees and step the right foot forwards, or if you have the space and you would like to, lifting the right leg up behind you, bending into the knee and swinging it forwards. Left foot comes to meet or becomes parallel with the right into our forward fold, bending into the knees. We're going to breathe in, reach up towards the sky, breathing out to bring the hands back down to the sides of the body. Take a moment, catch your breath. We're going to do that all on the other side. So hopefully feeling a little bit warmer, having that sense of heat and warmth building, burning any sluggish digestion away, lethargy away. Setting your feet up and lifting the toes. So as I lift the toes and spread the toes, you'll notice the contact you have through the soles of the feet and your mat. As you allow the toes to come back towards the mat, can you keep that same contact? It's almost like a lift through the soles of the feet. Lifting, spreading the toes, and then placing them down. Fingertips reaching down towards the earth. Finding length through the spine to the crown of the head. Breathing in, reaching up. Breathing out, folding forwards, leading with the heart. Breathing in, we're coming into a high flat back. Breath, full breath into the rib cage. And breathing out to fold forwards. This time the left leg goes back. We're coming into warrior one on this side. So we're placing the left foot down. The toes are pointing to about 10 o'clock on the face of the clock. As we come up, we want the right knee to be directly above the right ankle. And that's just keeping the knee safe, always looking after our joints. If the feet are more hip distance apart, you may find it a little easier to draw the left hip round the right hip back. So the hips, pelvis, almost level. And if you're taking the arms up, breathing in, reaching up, softening the shoulders, maybe taking the gaze up towards the sky.
Thinking about the weight distribution being even through the feet. So we're not hanging out on big toe edges, feet. So weight is even across both soles of both feet. On the next exhalation, we'll release the hands. We're going to come into our side angle. So this is where you may want to adjust the back foot just a little here. I'm going to come into a slightly longer stance. Right knee is still over right ankle, encouraging the torso to be above the hips. Right hand coming towards the right leg, palm facing up. And thinking about the open chest. So really finding the space in the chest for the breath. Hands welcome to stay here on the hip. Maybe you take the hand up and over. Finding the long line from the fingertips to the little toe edge of the back foot. Just make sure there's not much weight in that arm. Really finding the strength in the legs here. Strong shape. On the next inhalation, we'll slowly come up. Left arm rests on the left leg. Right arm comes up and over. Reverse warrior. Looking up towards the palm of the right hand. Softening the shoulders. On the next inhalation, slowly coming forwards, spiraling the left hand back round. We're coming into plank. So take your time to find one last plank, finding strength in the shape. Hands, weight distribution, thinking about that. It's like a spiraling and inward rotation of the wrist, shoulders moving away from the ears, belly button towards spine. Take a full breath in, expanding the rib cage in all directions. And slowly dropping down to knees, chest, chin, we're coming into Sphinx. So elbows under shoulders, or a little further forwards if the lower back's feeling tight. Shoulders soft, moving away from the ears, chest through, proud chest, and gently straightening the left arm, taking the gaze over the left shoulder or maybe even behind you. Breathing in to come through center and taking the twist on the opposite side. Encouraging the hips, pelvis to remain grounded. And slowly coming back to center. Releasing the chest down, tucking toes, downward facing dog. So finding your down dog again, whether you want movement or stillness. Feet are about hip distance apart, hands about shoulder width apart, really thinking about the weight again through the hands. This is keeping the wrists and the shoulders safe. So the weight is even through the thumb to little finger, inner elbows pointing in towards each other, shoulders moving away from ears. So you push into the hands, belly moving towards the thighs, tucking the chin. Welcome to drop down to the knees and step the left foot forwards, or maybe you lift the left leg up, bend into the knee and swing it through. Right foot becomes parallel with the left, or to meet it depending on how you started, or into our forward fold. Bending into the knees, breathing in, reaching up towards the sky, and breathing out to bring the hands back down to the sides of the body. So taking your time, again, to make any movement your body's asking for, just take a moment to release shoulders and hips. We're going to take one more standing shape with our bodies. We're going to come into chair, into Utkatasana. So it's quite strong, not one of my favorites, but great for really working the thighs and the glutes and a sense of strength building and creating heat again. So we won't use the arms to begin with. The hands can come to the hips or rest behind the back. As we sit down, we're sitting in a chair we can't quite reach. The knees naturally come over the ankles. We want to turn the quads on here. So can you tighten the quad muscles here a little more to protect the knees?
Depending on where the hands are, just encouraging the shoulders to stay soft. Gaze is just ahead. So we're trying to keep the head, the neck in line with the chest, with the neck. Thinking about the chest, are you able to lift the sternum just a little? On the next inhalation, powering through the feet and coming up to standing. Releasing the arms depending on where they are. So we're going to take that again. You're welcome to come into the same position, or maybe you raise the arms. On the next inhalation, raising the arms and sitting down into our chairs. Utkatasana. So we're reaching through the fingertips, shoulders are moving away from the ears. Sitting back in the chair, we can't quite reach. Making sure the quads are engaged to protect the knees. And then as we slowly come out, we're going to come straight into a forward fold. So take your time to forward fold, working out how far you're going to come. We're going to hold on to opposite elbows and tuck the chin. So it can be a high forward fold or a low one. Coming into dangling pose, another yin position. Maybe closing the eyes here and just having a sense that the weight is even through the feet. Knees are not collapsing in. Shoulders moving away from the ears. Releasing the hands. Bringing the hands to the hips. Bending into the knees. And powering through the feet to slowly come up to standing. Releasing the hands back down to the sides of the body. We're going to slowly make our way back down towards the floor, towards the mat. And we're going to come into this position. You may want a little bit of height. So I know my lower back collapses here. I find it quite hard to lift through the lower back. I've got to block a couple of cushions or a folded towel. And just having that under the glutes, suddenly I'm able to lift a little bit more. So you may want to try that position there. I've got the right knee, the right foot tucked in here, left leg extended. And we want to make sure the left toes are active. So the toes are pointing up towards the sky. We have length again through the spine. We're going to turn the body. So we're trying to encourage the navel to point towards the left toes. So we're coming into a little bit of a twist, and you can use the fingertips or the hands on the floor for this. From here, we're then going to fold forward. So we're trying to get the heart towards, or lead with the heart towards the toes. You may just come forwards a little. You may come forwards a little more. So just deciding where you're coming to, but encouraging the twist, using the help of the hands on the floor wherever you've come to, softening the shoulders. And we're going to take a couple of minutes here. So we're slowly going to be able to go a little further as the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments soften, lengthen. So in yin, this is half butterfly. You may even want to close the eyes. Just check the head and neck feel soft or relaxed. You maybe want to tuck the chin a little. And as the body softens into the shape, maybe you take the hands a little further. Are you able to soften the jaw, allow the tongue to rest in the lower part of the mouth? Still a sense of the chest lifted, heart moving towards the toes. Noticing what's softening in the body, what's finding a little bit more space, a little bit more length. And taking 3 more breaths here. When you're ready, slowly sliding the hands back towards the body, taking your time to come up to the seated shape, seated position, and then we'll move over to the left hand side. So extending the left leg out, the right leg, sorry, and bringing the left foot in. And just finding the position that works for you on this side. Finding length in the spine again and just making sure the right toes are active. As we bring the toes up towards the sky, you'll notice the leg, everything kind of switches on. And then from here, we're looking to take the navel towards the right leg, towards the extended leg. And you can use the hands on the mat or on the leg to encourage that twist. From here, we're folding forwards, leading with the heart. And you may notice a huge difference on one side over the other in this shape. And no, that's okay, that's fine, that's just how our bodies are. Finding softness in the shoulders, still have space in the chest. Making sure the right toes are still active, they're working. Coming to settle where you are and following the breath. You may want to tuck the chin a little, soften the neck, the head, maybe even close the eyes. As the body softens into the shape, maybe you can take the hands a little further, the forward fold a little further. So in yin yoga, we talk of a sort of edge. There's a softening, but we can still feel just a little bit of releasing. Nothing too strong, but just enough. Have a sense felt of the body working to soften, to release. Making sure the tongue still resting in the lower part of the mouth so the jaw's relaxed. Taking your time to maybe go a little further. I'm going to take 3 more breaths here. And just when you're ready, very slowly sliding the hands back towards your body and coming to a seated upright position. Releasing both legs. You may want to extend the legs out in front of you, Dandasana. Come to side on. And actually I'm going to stay seated on a bit of height, just here. Lifting through the chest here. Toes, feet active. Hands about level with hips, or maybe even a little further behind you to bring some more space to the chest. A little bit of a chest opener here. And we're going to forward fold. So again, heart towards toes, coming as far as you can. Hands can rest on the floor beside you, so making it soft. Toes remain active. Forward fold, Paschimottanasana. So it's similar to our standing forward fold, Uttanasana, but obviously very different. So we're in a very similar shape. We're leading with the heart. We're in a forward fold. It may feel easier. It may feel a little bit tighter. And taking 5 breaths here. Very slowly sliding the hands back towards the body, and we're going to make our way into slightly stronger shape. We're going to come into tabletop. If the wrists feel tight, you can come into very soft fists. That should work as well. And it's almost like a box position, but the other way around. So one last slightly stronger pose. And the aim here is to open the chest. It's like a heart and chest opener. So releasing any lethargy, any sort of stagnant energy. So feet are parallel, maybe a little bit wider than hip distance. You can decide once you get up, you may want to make a few adjustments. And then we're lifting the pelvis up and pushing through the hands. Being mindful not to throw the head back. Lifting the hips, making sure the knees haven't collapsed in, haven't collapsed out. There's a sense of strength through this shape, but also release. The gaze can move towards the sky. And taking 3 breaths here, and you're welcome to come into lion's breath as we're here. So breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth, and extending the tongue and widening the eyes. Releasing tension in the jaw, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth, really sticking the tongue out, widening the eyes. One last time, breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the mouth. Slowly, mindfully coming down, releasing the hands, coming to lying on your back and gently drawing the knees in for a hug. Taking your time here. Drawing the knees in, massaging the belly and letting them go. And we're going to come into bridge, another chest opener before we come into relaxation. So before we do, just making sure you feel warm as we start to really slow down. Maybe taking a jumper or having a blanket handy. And as we come into bridge, we're going to use some support as well. So we're going to have some support under the hips, the sacrum here. So I've got blocks, but you might have cushions and pillows, folded towels, whatever you have to hand. It might be 1 or 2. I've got 2 blocks, but having quite a bit of height here. The wider, the better. So we're not trying to balance on it. It's really supportive. Lying down, feet coming to the floor, to the mat. Feet are about hip distance apart. And the heels are coming in towards the body. I like to think I can almost touch them, not quite. And once we get up, we can always adjust. And then finding your support and placing under the sacrum, so under the hips here, and the sacrum, finding a place that allows you to feel fully supported. So we really want to feel like it's an almost resting position. Adjusting the feet if you need to, having a sense that the feet are parallel. And it's almost like we're tucking the shoulders under, shoulder blades are coming together. So finding that shape there. And the hands come down by the sides of the body, palms facing up towards the sky. Maybe they take hold of the prop, if it's quite a big prop. So finding the shape that best supports
in your body here. And you may want to close your eyes here, but we're lifting through the chest. So it's active, but supportive. And as you soften the gaze or close the eyes following the breath, so in this position, in this shape, our bellies, our abdomens are a little stretched, so you may find there's not a lot of movement in that area. But the lungs and the rib cage have got the freedom to move. So breathing in and noticing how the ribs expand in all directions. Taking 3 more breaths here in this shape. And then we're going to very slowly, mindfully come out of this shape. So if you do have more than one support under your hips, under your sacrum, just taking one away at a time, and allowing the body to settle on that next level down. Taking a breath there. And releasing the next. And continuing in this way until you have reached the floor. This is where you may want to draw the knees in for a final hug. Maybe even take some circles with the knees, massaging the lower back. You may also want to bring the knees to one side, extend the arms into a T-shape or cactus arms, and gently come through to the other side. So one final supine twist. And coming up to center and releasing the legs back down. So we're slowly going to make our way into relaxation, making sure you're warm. You've got any blankets, jumpers, socks that you need to make sure you feel warm and cozy. And it's very much up to you what shape you come into. You may want to come into traditional Shavasana with the legs extended and the palms facing up towards the sky. If there's any discomfort in the lower back, it can feel really lovely to have a folded blanket or a couple of cushions, or maybe you have a bolster under the knees, and that can feel really lovely and supportive. But there's always the option to come into the semi-supine position with the knees bent if that feels better for you, or a shape that you know supports you and your body. So find the shape for relaxation that works for you, and taking a moment to allow the body to settle. Any final adjustments, movements you need to make. coming to refocus on the breath. So noticing the breath, we're not trying to manipulate it at this point, we're just using it as an anchor to still our minds. So noticing the inhalation and the exhalation and watching the breath, watching the ebb and the flow. Encouraging a softness throughout the body from the toes and the ankles, the soles of the feet, to the calf muscles, the shins, the back of the knees and knees caps softening. Allowing the back and the front of the thighs to feel light. And the hips, sacrum, glutes to soften. Noticing the movement of the breath in the belly and the rib cage expanding. Softening around the shoulder blades, collarbone and shoulders. Softening in the upper arms, around the elbows, the forearms, and the wrists, hands, fingers. The neck, the jaw, allowing the tongue to rest in the lower part of the mouth. Softening across the facial muscles, the eyes, the ears, and the crown of the head. A sense of lightness, warmth, nurture from the tips of the toes to the tips of the fingers, all the way to the crown of the head. Following the breath in and following the breath out.
Slowly bringing your awareness back into the space you're in. Where you are in the room. And taking some deeper breaths, you may want to inhale and sigh the breath out. Slowly awakening the lungs from relaxation. Beginning to make small movements, maybe rotating wrists and ankles, moving fingers and toes. Taking your time to make movements that feel right for you in this moment. Maybe movements your body's asking for. You may want to take a full body stretch from the fingertips overhead to the toes. You may want to give the knees a hug. Taking your time to roll over onto your preferred side today, so the side that's you're drawn to. And taking a few moments curled up in the fetal position with an arm supporting your head. And just when you're ready, finding your way up to a seated position. Using any height you feel you need. And once again, finding length in the spine, softness in the shoulders. And to finish and seal our class today, we're going to come into Prithvi Mudra. So mudra is a hand gestures, work with the energies in the body. And this is where the thumb and the ring finger come together. So our thumb and our ring fingers in both sides of both hands. The thumb represents fire, the ring finger earth. And this particular shape in the hand is connecting with Mother Earth. So hopefully encouraging us to feel grounded. But with the fire connection, sparking that fire, reigniting the fire in our bellies to support us in our menopause journeys. So the hands can rest wherever it feels comfortable, on the legs, on the knees. Maybe you close the eyes, soften the gaze. And take a moment to notice the connection between the tip of the thumb and the tip of the ring finger. Creating a circle for the energy. Connection of the element earth and the element fire. Maybe you notice you are feeling grounded, stable, supported after yoga practice. Maybe you feel energized, warm, reignited the agni, the fire in the belly. Maybe you have a sense of both. Just taking this moment to notice, to acknowledge. Following the breath in, following the breath out. finding stillness in this shape. Gently releasing the hand gesture, the mudra, when you're ready. Maybe you bring the hands together at heart center, Anjali mudra, another hand gesture, seal, joining both halves of the body, both hemispheres of the brain. And taking a moment to thank yourself for practicing yoga today. Maybe you notice a bit more space in the body and the mind, and then for the breath. Thanking yourself for this self-care that we need through perimenopause and menopause. Taking time for ourselves to nurture and support our bodies. I'm going to take my hands up to my forehead for kind thought, to my lips for kind word, and back down to my heart center for kind action. Om Shanti.